Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas there, denying any responsibility for the illegal migrant charged with murdering Maryland mother of 5, Rachel Morin is her name. Mayorkas. The suspect crossed the border in February of 2023. He will be extradited to Maryland today. Rachel's mother is slamming Mayorkas for referring to her daughter as an individual, and the Biden administration for its response to the tragedy. Watch.
My reaction is that it's a completely political statement because they're not even willing to acknowledge that she was a female, that she was a mother, a daughter. It totally depersonalizes her and makes her an object. No one's contacted me personally, and as far as I know, no one has reached out and contacted anybody in the family.
Joining me now is Texas Congressman Keith Self, a member of the House Veterans Affairs and Foreign Affairs Committees. He's also a retired Army Special Forces colonel. Congressman, thanks very much for being here this morning. We understand that this individual who murdered Rachel Morin crossed the border during the fight that was underway between the administration and Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, over the razor wire. Remember, Greg Abbott was trying to close the border, putting this razor wire up, and the administration was stopping them. In the meantime, in that fight, this guy comes through the border into America and ends up killing this mother of 5, Rachel Morin. Your reaction?
This is only a symptom, Maria. This continues. Joe Biden continues to give the middle finger to the American people. He does not care about the consequences of his open border policy. We now have 600,000 illegal people that are roaming the nation freely. And you notice Mayorkas wouldn't even say her name. It's pretty much like Joe Biden with Laken Riley. Wouldn't even say her name.
So terrible. And then there's the Ecuadorian illegal migrant. He's accused of raping a 13-year-old girl in broad daylight in a Queens park. He's in custody this morning after being arraigned on 11 charges, including predatory sexual assault and kidnapping. The suspect admitted that he videotaped his sick attack, also using a machete-style knife to threaten and tie up the girl and the 13-year-old boy using a shoelace. New York Police Department sources confirmed to Fox that the migrant crossed the border illegally near Eagle Pass, Texas, in 2021. Same thing. That's been a hot spot for crossings. Governor Greg Abbott made it one of the main focuses for Operation Lone Star last year, Congressman. So here we have all of these people committing murders having come through the border on Biden's wide open border. Mayorkas, all the while saying that the border is secure.
Maria, I think of Sinwar, who is the Hamas leader. He says he doesn't care how many civilian casualties there are. Joe Biden is saying exactly the same thing. I don't care. My open border policy is here to stay. And where is the outrage, Maria? Where are the chants on the street by thousands of people that says no justice, no peace? Where is the outrage of the American people with this open border policy, the floods of people that are coming in? We're seeing the criminal element. What happens if we start to see the terror element? Because we know there are tens of thousands of military-age males here. What happens then?
Yeah.
Will we then see the outrage across America?
Well, I mean, this whole time, for 4 years, Jonathan Fahey, the Biden administration has been telling us that the border is secure. It's the Ecuadorian who raped the 13-year-old who crossed during the fight over the razor fire. I want to be clear there, clarify. Your reaction. Jump in here.
It's absolutely disgusting. I think Congressman Self is totally correct here in that this administration doesn't care. Their highest priority is this open borders policy. They want as many illegal immigrants to come in to the country as possible, and it's an acceptable cost and acceptable risk that these things will happen. And the reason he didn't say her name, he probably doesn't even know her name. He'd be very careful to not say anything at all disparaging about the person that did this. But the other thing that's very interesting about the interview is he went on to talk about all the good things that illegal immigrants contribute to the country, and basically he implicitly acknowledges, well, this is an acceptable risk because there are all these good things going on. It's truly disgusting. But Congressman Self, if I could just ask you, has there been a single thing from this administration, because you're on the front lines down there in Texas, I know we're all on the front lines now, but that this administration has done that has helped Texas in any way dealing with this problem?
Absolutely not. Texas is on its own. We've spent now $10 billion plus out of the Texas budget on this Lone Star. We are doing it on our own because the federal government refuses to do it. Joe Biden refuses to do it. In fact, as Maria mentioned earlier, he kept us from using the materials to build the wall that the federal government was letting rust on the ground. So absolutely not. In fact, Texas is a target of the Biden administration. It's not helping Texas. It's a target of the Biden administration.
Yeah, and you're right. When I was on the border, I've been to the border several times, and one of the times I was there, I saw all the materials on the floor, and they were just rotting. You know, they were getting rained on, and they were just rotting, sitting there. So I don't know what the cost of that is, but they just said, don't build the wall, leave it all there, and that's exactly what they did. Now, sources are telling Fox that the Biden administration is calling off this high-level meeting planned between the United States and Israel to discuss Iran's nuclear problem. The decision to cancel the meeting came after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu publicly criticized the lack of U.S. military aid. But a White House official says the meeting is still moving forward, but is yet to be finalized. I want to get your take on this, Congressman. We've got new Fox News polls, meanwhile, finding voters trust former President Trump to do a better job on the Israel-Hamas war than President Biden. Trump is up 4 points on that specific issue. Congressman, your reaction to how the administration has handled Israel in the middle of the fight for its own survival?
Well, I worked directly with the IDF for a couple of years back when I was on active duty. Let me tell you, they will defend themselves. They will continue this. But the Americans trust Trump on several issues. Let's go back to the immigration. 62% of Americans said they would support mass deportation now. You just saw the figure on Israel. Donald Trump has the trust of the American people because the American people are starting to realize that Biden administration wants to make America a socialist Marxist country. So you're going to see this continue right up to November. And as to the actual decision, the Biden administration has been anti-Israel since the beginning.
Yeah.
They've slowed down weapons system shipments. They've made decisions to put obstacles in their way. That pier that they built that was absolutely worthless, it was a virtue signaling to Hamas. Joe Biden is not a supporter of Israel.
Yeah, so you think the whole motivation here is to turn America into a socialist country? I mean, because it's hard to understand why the commander-in-chief, the leader of the free world, would have a wide-open border with 2 million gotaways that we have no idea what their motivations are, with all of these people who we have no idea what their backgrounds are, and obviously now we're seeing murders and theft, et cetera. You think the motivation is to change America fundamentally?
Absolutely. Look at the debt we are spending ourselves into, $35 trillion now.
Yeah.
Look at the fascist edicts coming out of the Biden administration, known as executive orders, tell you how you run your company, what you can say, sending FBI agents to intimidate people that have exercised their First Amendment free speech rights.
Yeah.
It goes on and on. There is no doubt.
Yeah. Congressman, thank you very much for being here. We so appreciate your time.